Welcome. My name is Byron Gonzalez. I'm here for Latin Alt Radio, and I have the wonderful privilege of talking to a legendary Latin soul musician from New York, and more specifically from East Harlem. We got Joe Bataan here talking to me. How are you, Joe Bataan? It's such a
Oh,
pleasure to meet you, to see you. You're such a legend, and your music transcends generations and cultures.
okay. I don't know. You must have read that somewhere because you're too young to know my history. But nevertheless,
No,
thank
I've
you so
gotten
much.
into it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Good enough. Thank you so much. Thank you.
it's and I can tell you, I say it transcends generations because I'm just listening to it now and I'm like, wow, this is wonderful music. I've been dancing all morning along to it. So it's really cool. And then I can't even imagine when you come to perform here in Los Angeles at the Levitt Pavilion, you're going to even reach even younger generations there. There's always little kids around and just families, groups of families come to Levitt Pavilion.
That's what so gratifying in this. Since I've been coming to the West Coast for the last 50 years, it seems like my music has grown. I've always been an underground artist, and I wasn't Elton John, I wasn't the Beatles, but for some reason, the Familia and the Raza, they really took to my music and supported me all through these years. And my music has been passed down like no other uh, area in the world. I mean, I'm sure my music has been passed, but not like the West Coast. They pass it on to their children. I mean, if I go into an audience and play, my audience could be 9 to 90, and that's really gratifying.
That's really cool. Did you ever envision that when you started playing music?
No, no, I
Uh,
thought it would take me maybe 10, 20 years to perfect my craft. And my story is a Cinderella story. As a young boy that grew up in a barrio, self-taught, uh, I made something out of nothing. And it's all because of the blessing of the big boss. Yeah, I don't want to forget that because my travels and what I did through my up and downs, my Waterloos, his hand was always on me, waiting for me to correct myself and seek the path of goodness. And I'm so thankful that I've arrived at that part of my life now where I'm able to impart goodness to the world.
that's awesome. Yeah, with your beautiful sounds. And I'm sure every time you hit those notes, you send good feelings throughout the crowd.
Oh, sometimes I'm a sentimentalist, a romantic, all of those things. Because you got to understand, I was a youngster and I'm still a youngster. Even though I'm
Yeah,
going to be 80
100%.
years old this year, uh, I've always thought in the mind of a youngster and what the younger generation wanted to do. So I always held on to the pulse of the youth. And actually, Bataan means youth in Taigala. So I didn't ever knew that. The patron Saint Cecilia's must have had a hand on me because I used to sneak in the church to play the piano, and I got caught by the priest one day. And I said, Father, we didn't take anything. All I wanted to do was play the piano. We ran out. But the story is so erotic that all through my life and my struggles, that I was able to accomplish anything. It's a Cinderella story, and it's coming out of my memoirs. It's called Streetology, and what I went through in the last 50 some years and how I obtained whatever it is they say I have obtained, and to trial and error. And I'm
That,
so gratified.
that's so cool. And to still be making music today in 2022 and performing for people is
Yeah.
just another feat in itself.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do want to know a little bit about your earlier times, like before you
Okay.
even started playing piano, before you even like when was that point in your life where you're like, or what was like the first album you ever listened to that just stuck on you and you played that album on repeat?
Wow. That goes way well. Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers was one. It came out at a time in 57. I couldn't have been no more than 15 years old. And then we had never heard of a male vocalist singing so high with a girl's pitch. And here comes this guy, la la la. We say, wow, who is that? And we found out it was a boy. He became our idol because we all tried to imitate that. We thought that we had to have a high-pitched voice to get into the entertainment field, especially at that era, rock and roll. And Frankie Lyman was the breaking point for me. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to be. And I guess every other kid in East Harlem, because there were only two ways for youngsters like ourselves to be successful. That was either to be in sports or through music. You know, I emulated Jackie Robinson, but I couldn't grow any taller, so I had to give up that idea. And lucky music was still in the way, and I could pursue that, and that's what I did. You know.
Yeah. So was the piano the first instrument you ever started playing, or did you have other
No,
instruments before that?
no. The first instruments I started playing, unfortunately, was while I was incarcerated, right? And I picked up the trumpet. Everybody wants to play the trumpet when you go to school, but I was a lousy trumpet player. I couldn't blow the high notes, and I had trouble with the theory and the reading of the music, especially when it came to the high notes and the quarter notes and such. And of course, our teacher was Mark Francis at West Caxsackie Reformatory. And he was very strict with us. He wouldn't let us touch the instruments unless we learned theory. And I'm gratified that I had a chance to learn that before it was too late. You know, the few rudiments that I learned about music. But the trumpet was the first. After that, I gave that up, and then I discovered the piano one day in an auditorium, just banging on the keys, not knowing what I was doing. And I discovered a triad, you know, and that was harmony. And of course, I've always had a great ear for music because we sang in the hallways before we ever had instruments. Our ears were our instruments, you know, and our vocals. So I was always one to discover harmony and to bridge harmony in the hallways, you know, with other fellas and stuff like that. Something cool. Like the Ink Spots and the old groups of those times in the barbershop harmony. So the piano came at a time when I was searching desperately to be a musician because I was always a vocalist, but never a musician. So when I entered the business, I was a band leader. And I've been a band leader all my life. I never played for anybody. So nobody probably would have had me. So I had to be my own leader. I had to invent my own style. And God must have had his hand on me because, you know, I was very fortunate and blessed.
Yeah. You're like the CEO of Bataan Music Industries, basically, right?
Yeah, my own man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then also searching for bandmates must have been a tough one, especially with, you know, in the soul business, you got a big ensemble of people. Did you ever find it difficult to find the right people to be part of your band?
It wasn't difficult, but in my situation, it was because I wasn't a learned person. You know, I had no educational background in music, only my ear, my ideas, and the God-given talent to sing. Most people that I approached wanted to know what I had in mind because I brought nothing to the table. You know, all I wanted to do was start something and didn't know how to start it. So at trial and error, I had every type of person that came into that center to play with me. Conga players, girls, boys, I mean, down and out guys. I mean, criminal, you had name it. Everybody that would sit down and play with me and listen to me. Eventually, not too many people hung around after that. I was pipe dreaming that my dreams were unrealistic and they wouldn't stay with me. And then one day I walked into the auditorium and there were 8 kids there. They were 13 and 12 years old. And they were starting a little band. And I was appalled that they were using the auditorium, which I had commandeered as a youngster, being the neighborhood tough guy. I said, how dare they rehearse in my place, which wasn't mine, it was a community center. But back then, that's how we did things. And then I got a brainstorm. And the story goes that I took out a knife that I had. I didn't meant to hurt anybody. I stuck it into the piano and I announced, I'm gonna be the leader of this band because I noticed they didn't have a piano player. And ironically, nobody said anything. And I guess it was accepted. And I sat down at the piano And then I gave this long speech about, if you stick with me, I'll take you to ends that you've never seen before. Now you gotta understand, I was about 19 or 20. Everybody looked up to me. These kids were 12 and 13. They had never seen the neighborhood tough guy from the neighborhood. And here I come in commandeering their band that they were starting, announcing that I was gonna be the leader. And that was the small part of it. I had to convince their parents to let them play with me because I was known as the neighborhood tough guy. So nobody wanted their kids hanging out with me because of, I was Peck's bad boy. So I had to go to take them home after rehearsal every day and explain to the parents, look, I'm a changed person. I'm not that way anymore. All I want to do is make music. Allow me to practice with your kids, and I'll bring them home every day. And of course, they all agreed. Some of them was dubious about what was going on, and they would peek in every other day looking at the rehearsal. But we stayed in that auditorium 5 days a week, 3 hours every day for 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, we were making records. It's a Cinderella story. Nobody would ever believe. And that these kids didn't read music. We did everything by commands and directions from the piano and memory. The IQ of these youngsters was very high because they had to memorize a whole score, and it became a habit and just the style of Joe Bataan. And we were on our way. A lot of people couldn't believe. These are the same kids that we used to see in the street. They're playing on stage. He says, I know that guy. Yeah, I used to have a fight with him. What do you mean, he's a band leader now? And so the story goes on and on. That's just a small part of the speedology of what I went through.
That's a great feeling, right? To show people
Yeah.
the different side of you and to really like turn their heads, like
Oh, boy.
the pre-assumptions that they make, and they're like, they hear you play music. It's like, okay, all that goes out the window. This is who I'm
Right.
staring at now, this band leader. And what
Yeah.
a great story. You were telling me, as you were telling me the story, I could just already imagine a cool Hollywood movie biopic of Joe
Yeah,
Bataan.
yeah. I see that too, but you never know. It's in my book. I'm hoping to get it published. That's just one of the Cinderella stories that happened on the Joe Bataan journey. I mean, it's amazing when you think it's something that you grow up with that you don't learn in Cambridge, Oxford, or Columbia. It's mother wit. It's a sixth sense, right? And Machiavelli theory, by any means necessary, yes. If you use it uh, to goodness instead of in a bad way. So my take on life was the shortest distance between 2 points of straight line. Don't deviate. Takes too long. And of course, while other youngsters were trying to obtain success and trying to perfect their craft, I took the shortcuts, right? Because I knew time was of the essence. And it paid off for me, where a lot of other talented youngsters, much more talented than I, were still struggling because it's in my book, the ingredient. Like there are leaders and there are followers. There are band leaders and there are musicians. So it takes a certain aggression, passion in your craft or what you love to do to excel in it, and I guess that's where by any means necessary comes in.
Yeah, and I think that's where your degree in streetology really comes
Yeah,
in, because you gotta, growing up in the streets, you gotta take what you need and take what you want, or else you're not gonna get anywhere. You're gonna be left in the
exactly,
dust.
exactly. Um, I don't regret my lifestyle, what I had. I regret some of the things and a lot of things that I got into trouble with. If I had to do it again, I probably would do it differently. Uh, my suggestion for all those that are listening, my way was a shortcut way. I had no choice, lacking the resources. But go to school, learn your craft, learn how to count, All right. So that's how you can be successful. And then jump into the passion that you love, but education is very important, you know, because knowledge they can't deny you.
Yeah, but also show them who's boss by sticking a knife in the piano
Yeah,
and telling
exactly.
them I'm here.
Yeah.
That's another, like, that's, you got to show dominance as well, whatever
Yeah,
industry you're in.
that's true. That's true.
Well, I'm so excited to have you in Los Angeles as well this weekend. Have you been to Los Angeles before, or have you been recently?
Oh, you got to be kidding. I practically live there. So the Los Angeles is my second home.
It's your
I think
second
I
home.
think I yeah more so than most New Yorkers. I go there frequently, at least 10 times a year.
That's
Play,
wonderful.
playing all over the place. You have to understand that the underground movement for Joe Bataan started in Los Angeles on KFPK, the college stations. And what
No
happened in the
way.
early 60s is that um, primetime radio wouldn't play guys like me on the radio because we weren't Smokey Robinson or James Brown. We had to make a name for ourselves. The competition was stiff. So it was these little college stations in California that picked on Joe Bataan and the Lowriders, and they started to embrace my music, and it kept spreading from house to house. And then these college stations were the support mechanism that put Joe Bataan on the map. So I'll always be indebted to La Raza, the Pinoys out there. I mean, everybody on the West Coast, because you understand when we first started, New York might have been maybe 3 years ahead of the West Coast because of communications back in the 60s. Of course, they've caught up now. But back then, the news of whatever happening in New York took almost 3 years to get to the West Coast. So when I got to the West Coast, I was a new entity, right? Which they already had heard in New York, but it was brand new for California. So California's still catching up on Joe Bataan. Um, they love my old stuff, but a lot of the new things that I've done, I think they're oblivious to, which is coming out now. Because once you hear a Joe Bataan song and you get hooked, you want to know the rest. You want to know, well, what the heck is this guy does, man? What category can I put him in? Is he Latino? Is he African American? Is he Asian? Well, I'm all those things, I am the true mestizo, and I'm proud of it, because where can you go where you can have the support of all these different cultures, you know? And I feel at home because that's what I'm looking for at MacArthur's Park. Everybody to come on down, the Pinoys, the Asian Americans, the African Americans, the Latinos, La Raza, everybody, we're gonna have a party. It's gonna be historical, right? Because I'm gonna do all favorites, songs that you probably haven't heard. And it's a great chance for those out there that never got a chance to see Joe Bataan, especially for those that couldn't attend concerts that I played in. Might have been way out of their reach. But here's a free concert at MacArthur's Park, where it gives the familia, the families, to come down and sit down and listen to me and listen to my story. I'm
Exactly,
excited.
exactly. And I can predict people are going to be walking by totally oblivious to what's going on. They're going to hear your sound and just kind of get magnetized to it. They're going to
I
get pulled
certainly
into
hope
it.
so. I certainly hope so.
They will. They'll stop in their tracks. Like if they're driving by, they're just going to screech their cars.
Well, that's going to be great. That's going to be great. I'm looking
Now, now,
forward.
be, now, because
Yes.
you are coming to the city and you've been to LA so many times, I do want to know what are like your favorite stuff. What is your favorite places to visit here in Los Angeles
Well,
when you're down here?
I like the places where you eat. I mean, a lot of them, they laugh at me because I've been there so many different types of restaurants. Uh, I really enjoy the food. I have a Chinese place that I go. I have a Mexican place that I go. I have a soul food place that I go. And always trying to have all the dishes. And of course, the home cooked meal, you know, that's prepared for me sometimes. And some families always inviting me to their homes. And we sit down and break bread and we talk about good times. They want to know about me, and I enjoy it. You know, I've always been that way. You know, it's remarked that I sing a song called "Ordinary Guy, Afro-Filipino," and that's me. It really is me. You know, I mean, I don't remember ever owning a new car. All my friends are my friends, and I'm that same guy that I was 50 some or 60 years ago. You know, I say hello to everybody. I'll sign your records. I mean, and that's what a lot of the raza and my fans have told me. We really enjoy you because you symbolize a street singer, a guy that's from the hood. And you come out and you talk to us, and it never goes beyond your head, you know. And even for guys that are in Twin Towers and Chino and all of them, I mean, they're in love with Joe Bataan because I sing about them. You know, my stories are symbolic with everyday life and with mother's prayers to God. You leave it uptown, and that's what I'm about. So I'm that guy that everybody says I could do that. It's just that I'm doing it and they're not. So they come to see me.
Yeah, and your lyrics really speak to that. I love that about your lyrics. I'm listening to it. I'm like, this is me. We're one and the same,
Yeah,
no matter what color you are or where you're
there you
from.
go. There you go. That's it. That's the key.
I love that. Well,
Yes.
I can't wait to catch you over at the Levitt Pavilion, McCarthy Park. It's gonna be
Okay.
great. You're gonna, if there was a roof, you'd blow it off.
Oh well. They said it's synonymous with Central Park in New York. If we have any kind of turnout like we did in New York, it's going to be historical. You know, I just pray everybody comes in peace. Uh, and I'm going to pray for all the familias, you know, because most of
Gracias.
my shows starts off with a prayer, and I pray for everybody. So that trip that I'm making 3,000 miles is more significant to me than me just entertaining. It's bringing
Yeah,
people together, you know, and we need prayer at this time more than we've ever needed it before.
100%. It's spiritual and entertainment coming
Exactly.
together.
Exactamente.
It's uplifting. Yeah, exacto, exacto. Pues muchas gracias, Joe
Ok,
Batán.
de
Fue un
nada.
placer hablar contigo.
Y
Y aquí
contigo.
te esperamos en Los Ángeles.
Ok, vaya. Gracias. Thanks to
Chao.
everybody. Okay, ciao. Peace.
Peace.